Welcome back to the Heater Dynasty podcast. I'm your host, Eric Heater, your one-stop shop for all your fantasy football needs. And today, I'm excited to be able to finally showcase this lineup builder tool that I've been working on all off season. I was really hoping to get it ready for week 1, but there was a lot of little bugs I had to work out. So all that to say, week 3, it's available for you all. It is a DraftKings DFS lineup builder tool designed specifically for those of you who like to hand build your lineups. And if you'd like a copy of it, you can get it on my Patreon. You can get a season access pass for $15. Or if you want to try it out for a week, normally it's going to be a $5 a week trial, but since it's a little late in the week, I am giving it away for free. So you'll get a free copy today. Just go to my Patreon, look under the week 3 DraftKings lineup builder tool. And the best thing is if you like it and you want to get the season pass, you're going to get a $5 promo code. $5 off promo code. So then you're going to be able to actually get the season pass for $10. So that's a nice deal. It's also available on Etsy for the $15. You can buy the season pass there as well. But yeah, let's kind of break down what this looks like, how this tool works. The nice thing is it's designed for all the different slates. So I've built it out this week. We've got the main slate. Obviously, you already missed out on Thursday night. But then there's the Sunday night football showdown slate. There's a Monday night football showdown slate. Basically, every single slate that you could want is available here. Today we're going to focus in on the main slate, mostly just because I think that's the easiest way to showcase how this tool works. And if I find the time, I might put out a Monday Night Football one as well later on in the weekend, but we'll have to wait and see. So, to break down what this tool works like, it's got all the players listed. It's got their salaries, their projections. I'm going to get into these categories in a second, but the main things I'm filtering by are value, weighted opportunity, and roster percentage. This category right over here, you have a player pool. Basically, I've already pre-selected some, but this allows you to then filter down the results so it's a little easier to digest once you get to your hand building, and that's going to be right here. These right here are built in. If you select there on the side there, it'll break down which defenses, which players, etc. that you're looking for. So you can look at it a little easier than having to go back and forth through that whole list. So I like to filter down my data that way. But yeah, let me break down a little bit more of what is available on this sheet. At the top here, I have all the different games built in, the different matchups that are in each slate. So this week, it's a big one. We got 13 games going on. The top games info is always going to be listed right here based on the over-under. So this week we've got one matchup that is over 50, an over-under of over 50, 50.5 for Dallas versus Chicago. And then we got a couple other middling range ones. So 46.5 for 49ers versus Cardinals, 45.5 for the Chargers versus the Broncos, 44.5 for Washington versus the Raiders, and 44.5 for Eagles Rams. If you go to odds, you'll see there's more options as well this particular week. I just have limited it to 5 so that it's not crazy overload information. Most of the time, you're going to want that. However, this week, you're going to see, well, maybe Steelers-Patriots is a matchup that you might be interested in for tournaments. Jaguars-Texans, Colts-Titans, Buccaneers-Jets. Really, any of those, I think, could work for tournament lineups. But without getting ahead of myself, I'm going to go back here. These are the ones I'm mostly going to focus on for cash lineups. But yeah, so top games info, you got your top game stacks. So this breaks down what players you could be stacking from those teams that are in the top games that we've highlighted there. And then it also highlights them throughout the list too. So just visuals that I've tried to set up to make it a little easier to digest all this information. But yeah, so let's break down, what do I mean by value? So when you're looking at, and please forgive me if you are a seasoned veteran and you're like, what? Everybody knows this. I know. I want to set this podcast up in a way that will help people who might be starting out for the very first time. So I won't get this detailed every single time, but at least for this first one, I will. So if you don't know what I'm talking about when it's value, it is projection versus divided by their salary divided by 1,000. So it just kind of creates a nice concrete number that you can look at first glance and determine, okay, so this player has this value compared to this player, just based on how much they're projected versus how much it's going to cost to put them in your lineup. So an example of that would be, so Christian McCaffrey, he is the highest priced person on this slate. He's $8,200. He has a projection of 23.08, which is really good, but his value is 2.81 versus, if you look over here, who is my top value running back? It's going to be Javonte Williams. He's only a salary of $6,100, and even though he's earning, he's projected to have 3 points less, he has a higher value because it doesn't cost you as much, meaning you can put that money to another player and possibly have a bigger total score. So that's what that means by value. Weighted opportunity is even to another level. Weighted opportunity basically highlights targets, players that receive targets as more valuable than just players who have rush attempts. So it's really more just for running backs, but with the league allowing a lot more, or having a lot more wide receivers getting rushing attempts as well, I also included it for them. I think it's someone like Deebo Samuel, who is kind of a hybrid player. This applies to them as well. But weighted opportunity, basically, my formula, I have to look this one up because this one's a little bit more complicated. So I got rushing attempts per game plus their targets multiplied by 2.2. So the targets are 2.2 times more valuable than the rush attempts divided by their salary. So it's a little complicated, but basically that number tells you that Christian McCaffrey has a higher weighted opportunity. So each touch that he gets has the potential to score more points than someone like, I guess, like this week, Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is a great running back, but he doesn't receive a ton of reception targets. It's mostly just on the ground. So I look at that, you got 3.04 weighted opportunity for Jordan Mason versus a 4.41 weighted opportunity for Christian McCaffrey. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Like I said, I've already pre-selected my player pool this week just to make it a little bit easier to get through this quickly. But why don't we go ahead and break down one other thing I'm going to be giving you every week. I'm going to give you my top plays. That's kind of what I'm doing today, is I was going to talk through what I think each position is. These top plays are designed for cash. So I don't want you to think that these aren't always necessarily the best tournament plays. However, I do think these are the players that are going to have the best value. And maybe if we have time at the end, we will put together some lineups. But today, let's just kind of work through this. So to start with grabbing my notepad here. My quarterback top plays. The first one I have, with Jaden Daniels being out, I have Marcus Mariota as my top quarterback play of the week. The reason for this is because he has a Stoneman salary of $4,000, giving him a huge value. Because I think he's a mobile quarterback. We've seen him before when he's had to fill in, and he has been a top 10 quarterback 2 times last season when he filled in for Jaden Daniels, and that's without even starting the game. He came in later in the game. So I definitely think Cliff Kingsbury will know how to use him. I think they will be successful. It's one of our top games this week versus the Raiders. So Marcus Mariota is my top choice for cash quarterbacks this week. A second would be Drake May. Drake May is also a solid choice. He had an excellent week last week, but it's going to cost you a little bit more, and frankly, I don't think it's as worth it. So for me, I think I'm going with Marcus Mariota this week. If you wanted to play it a little safer, I am totally fine with going with Justin Herbert. Another top game this week as they're playing the Broncos. It's just going to cost you a little bit more. He's got a salary of $6,200, and I think if you go with a cash min quarterback this week, it allows you to get a couple more studs on the running backs and the wide receivers, which we'll get into in a second. And then the last option would be Dak Prescott. So nobody's really that expensive this week, so I don't feel like there's much value in going up in price. I think Marcus Mariota is the way to go. So to look at running backs, this running back is pretty much locked into my lineup this week. Jordan Mason, with Aaron Jones being out on IR, he's going to have so much opportunity, and he is very cheap. He is $5,400 this week, and that just means that he really only needs to score about 15 to 16 points to really maximize his potential. You kind of want him to score 3 times what his salary is to be considered a good target. So that's something that we've always looked at. So Marcus Mariota, he's at 4,000. You really only need him to score 12 plus points. Very doable. Jordan Mason, he's at 5,400. So I think 16 points is definitely on the table, and he's going to have a huge roster percentage this week. Everyone's going to be playing him. It's just a cheat code. Use it, okay? My next one would be Christian McCaffrey. There's nobody on the 49ers team that is working right now. Everybody's broken. Mac Jones is their quarterback, and their entire offense runs through Christian McCaffrey. So I think this is a no-brainer. Go with Christian McCaffrey. Another injury opportunity this week. Kenneth Walker is my third choice because Charbonnet doesn't look like he's going to play. He's got a foot injury. And Kenneth Walker honestly looked way better this past week anyway. And if he gets all the touches, I think this is a steal. He's only 5,800 as well. So highly worth putting in your lineup, saving some of that money for the wide receivers so you can get a couple more studs. The last option here is going to be Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor has been getting a ridiculous workload, and I definitely think that this is something that could not continue throughout the season, but so far they've been giving him a ridiculous workload and giving him nearly all the touches, and they've looked good with Daniel Jones under center. So they have a pretty easy matchup this week. They're against the Titans. They should win. Even though it's not one of my top games, I do think that Jonathan Taylor is a good choice. Some people that didn't make my top 4, but I think are definitely good values as well, would be Bijan Robinson. You can see he's my top value here. Second top value, I mean. He's got a salary of $7,900. And then some other mentions would be Jaylen Warren, Javonte Williams, and Josh Jacobs would be my last one. But all that to say, this is what I'm going with this week. I'm going to be working probably from these 4 running backs to determine what my cash team will look like. Wide receivers. This one is also locked in this week for me. Keenan Allen is too cheap. He's been getting a ridiculous workload, and he does not look like he is as old as he is. He has been reborn, and I think his salary this week is just too ridiculous. You have to do it. It's going to be $4,700. It allows you to get up and get a couple more studs in your lineup. So Jordan Mason, Keenan Allen, Marcus Mariota, those kind of are locked in right now. For me, my second choice would be Jackson Smith-Njigba. He has been receiving almost a 30% target share in these first couple weeks. And if you decide to put him and Kenneth Walker, both the Seattle players, in your cash lineup, I think that's totally fine because they both are so concentrated in the offense. If you think that Seahawks are going to win, I'm fine with that. So you don't have to choose one or the other. You can put them together. But he's my second choice. My third choice is CeeDee Lamb. I think that game is going to explode. That is the top one of the week, 50.5, at least for the main slate. So them versus the Bears, CeeDee Lamb, definitely a good choice. And then the counterpart of that would be Roma Dunze. He's been getting a ridiculous target share as well to start off the season. Then my fifth choice would be Puka Nacua. I have Jacoby Myers playing for the Raiders versus Commanders. I have Drake London. Troy Franklin is a buy down option, that a cheap alternative if you need to save a little cash anywhere. I think he's 4,000 this week, right? Let's see here. Yeah, 4,000. Last week was the first week he really got a ton of targets, and I think he might be a little riskier than some of the other players. But if you need to save some money, he's someone I'm comfortable putting in my cash lineup. And then, so Ricky Pearsall and Devontae Adams to round out my top 10 wide receivers. Tight ends this week, I think because you're saving in so many other places, I think you can spend up this week. I think your top option is Trey McBride, and I think you should take it. I think that's what I'm going to do. I haven't really worked out my final roster yet, but I think that's where I'm leaning. Otherwise, Tyler Warren, Colts rookie tight end, is crushing it right now. He would be my second choice. Juwan Johnson. And then finally, Luke Musgrave. Luke, you might be like, who is that if you're not playing all the time? Luke is filling in for Tucker Kraft, who we just found out on the Packers, who made it onto an injury report late this week. So if he's out, which it sounds like he's going to be out for possibly a couple weeks, Luke Musgrave would be a good, cheap option. But like I said, I think Trey McBride is where I'm going. Now for defenses, I think I'm going with the Colts as my top choice because they're playing the Titans. It's going to be an easy matchup. The Packers, because they have been just crushing everybody. The Falcons, who have a pass rush for the first time ever. That's interesting. The Jaguars. And lastly, the Commanders. Now, I probably won't play the Commanders if I have other Commanders in there, like with Mariota, if your top choice. But if you go with a different option, Commanders work. Now, for my leverage plays, this is more for tournaments. The leverage plays that I came up with this week, because Keenan Allen is going to be so locked in for a lot of different lineups, I think Ladd McConkey in tournaments would be a good leverage piece to move away from Keenan Allen to get back a little roster percentage, because he's going to be a lot less. Let's see what he is, what I'm projecting him at right now. Oh, one little trick you can do, type this in, makes it easier search your thing here. Ladd McConkey, there we go. 8.3 roster percentage versus Keenan. Let's see here. Keenan. What we got for you, Keenan? 13.3. So, yeah. And I think that's conservative. I think it's going to go up way higher. But that is one place that you could get some roster savings, some percentage savings. My other leverage play of the week, this one's kind of a weird one, but the Bengals defense. Because, like I said, I'm locking in Jordan Mason for running back. And a lot of people are going to, I didn't mention him, but Carson Wentz is also playing this week at the Stoneman. So that's another alternative that you could do. But in tournaments, let's say both those players fail, you would take the Bengals defense as a leverage opportunity, saying that that game failed and that the Bengals maybe get some sort of turnovers or a touchdown or something like that. Then my last one, Daniel Jones. Another cheap alternative for quarterbacks that's not necessarily getting a ton of roster percentage. People are just not respecting him. They're expecting the wheels to fall off. I don't think this is the week that it's going to fall off. And I think he has a great, cheap group of people that he can play off of. In tournaments, you could stack a bunch of his players for cheap. Top dart throws. These are going to be more some cheaper alternatives. So if you went with Marcus Mariota as your quarterback and you're like, I think that would be a really cool tournament play as well, I don't think it's the worst idea, but I would do an onslaught stack with it. So players that I'm considering stacking with him: Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz, and then lastly, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, or aka Bill. With Austin Eckler being injured last Thursday night, I think Ja'Cory's targets are going to go up. I think he's going to get the majority of the work. I think it's still going to be a running back committee. Don't get me wrong, but I think Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is going to get at least 55% of the time. You know, honestly, I'm thinking about this now. I think I want to change this one. I'm going to put as Deebo Samuel. And the reason I'm thinking that is just if you are going with the game script that Washington is trying to protect Marcus Mariota and really get their running game going, with Austin Eckler being out, honestly, I think Deebo, Ja'Cory, Zach Ertz, and Marcus Mariota would be a good onslaught stack. So, last minute change there. We're going to go with Deebo Samuel. But, yeah, let me kind of break down what this looks like for how this will help you with your hand building. So, all that info gets put in, and then your HDP top plays from me. I got to come up with something better. Heater Dynasty Podcast, HDP, but it's hard to say. So your top plays, there we go. We'll just call it that. Your top plays are going to be built in automatically, along with whatever you decide to highlight, whatever players you decide with this tool right over here. So if you check mark any players, they're going to automatically get filtered into your player pool right here to make it a little bit easier to digest and view. So let's hand build a cash lineup just to show some examples of how this works. So I have a bunch of different templates set up here. You have your cash lineups on the far left. The only thing that's different between a cash lineup versus a GPP lineup is that I don't have a conditional formatting set up to worry about roster percentage for the cash lineups, because we don't really care how much the roster percentage is. It's really just about trying to get those top plays in there. Versus a GPP lineup is going to give you a range based on historical data of what winning lineups in tournaments look like. Usually they fall between an 80% and 125% range of roster percentage. So I built in a little, conditional formatting option just to kind of show you where you're falling in that, because we kind of want to aim for that range. And then lastly, you got the late swap options as well, which is just a cool little feature that if you want to build in a couple things, it'll show you what that will look like for your salary. You can plan ahead of time, so if you need to utilize that. But without getting bogged down too much, we said Marcus Mariota is going to be locked in as the cash quarterback. We got Jordan Mason. Oh, what am I doing? Jordan Mason locked in. We've got Keenan Allen locked in. I'm going to put Trey McBride in. And, we're going to start with the Colts. Just throw that in there as my top option. So, second running back, we could choose between Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor. I think I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey. I'm going to throw in CeeDee Lamb and Rome Odunze just to start and see where it falls. And that leaves us 5,400. So we can't really throw in another. Knocks out Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, which I don't think is a good choice for cash games. If we want to try to get Kenneth Walker in there, we could get off of somebody here. So maybe instead of CD, let's see. Does Puka give us enough? And then I think it's going to be just a little short. So it does, you see, it tells you you're over the salary. So let's switch the Colts with a cheaper option. Oh, okay. So we'll go the Falcons and then be right on salary. So like you can see, that's no longer red. That means it's a legal lineup here. It's projecting at 148.73 points and a roster percentage projection of 137%. So this is too high, definitely for a GPP, but this would be a possible cash lineup. Now, let's say we took this exact same cash lineup and we wanted to make it a GPP lineup. We just need to change out a couple things. So let's start by, we would change out, let's do this with Jacory, Krosky, Merritt. You see, it's already a cash. Oh, except they were over salary, so I'll have to edit a little bit more. We moved him down to Jonathan Taylor. Now we're cash viable, or a legal lineup within the salary, and now it's tournament viable because I got 101% roster percentage projection. Obviously, Marcus Mariota is still listed at 0%, so this isn't actually what it's going to look like. One Sunday morning, these are going to repopulate, and you'll be able to see this better. But this is Saturday morning, so my projection module hasn't calculated how much Marcus Mariota is going to be played yet. But don't worry, Sunday morning this will auto-populate and it'll be correct. So, okay, let's keep going then. So let's take out, we're going to say, we'll take him out, we'll put in Lad McConkey, right? So now we're getting a little bit lower than we want to be, but that's okay. Put in Deebo Samuel. And who else are we seeing? In Zach Ertz. So now we're a little too low. We got a lot of salary. So then we could go up to the Packers. And we have 7,200 left. Can we throw in another stud running back here? We already got Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, so let's throw in Josh Jacobs with the Packers defense. So this is on the lower end. Maybe we'd want to get one more high value person here. This may be for if you were entering in a bigger pool tournament. I don't think 75.9 is too low, but it's a little lower than I want it to be. But yeah, this just kind of give you an example of how the tool works. It gives you those guidelines. So yeah, come back later in the weekend. Hopefully I will have enough time to throw up a showdown lineup. I'll just kind of give you a quick glance. I'm going to hide some of this stuff. This is just algorithm stuff that I left open. Yeah, so I'll throw in a couple lineups here. You can use this tool right here, and it'll reset those for you. That's stuff from last week. But yeah, this was the Monday night game. I think it's going to be pretty exciting. That's the highest game of the week projected. It's at 53.5. We got the Ravens versus the Lions. It should be a good game. But yeah, we'll break this down later in the week. But yeah, you can, like I said, you can get this on my Patreon. $15 for the season, free for this week, or Etsy, $15 for the season as well. Until next time, see you later, and good luck.